The sky above the mining colony was always the same shade of dull gray. Smoke from the machines filled the air, and the ground was covered with layers of dust. The colony was small, a cluster of metal huts and long tunnels leading down into the mines. Life there was simple but harsh. Every person worked hard to survive, and there was little space for secrets. Yet one boy, now grown into a young man, carried a secret heavier than the stones he mined each day. His name was Arun. He had been born in the colony and had never seen another world. From the time he was a child, he knew there was something different about him. On his chest, close to his heart, was a strange mark. It was shaped like a spiral with lines branching out like rays of light. No one else in the colony had anything like it. His mother, who had raised him alone, told him to hide it. She warned him never to speak of it. She stitched his shirts higher at the neck and taught him to cover himself when he worked. At night, however, the mark behaved strangely. When Arun slept, he sometimes felt warmth spreading from his chest. The spiral glowed faintly, casting a soft light on the walls of his room. In those moments, he often dreamed of distant skies, stars burning brighter than he had ever seen, and voices calling him in languages he did not know. He would wake with his heart racing and sweat on his brow. No matter how real the dreams felt, he kept them buried inside him, just as he kept the mark hidden. The colony itself was not a safe place for someone different. Rumors spread easily, and fear ruled the hearts of the people. The miners had heard stories about alien patrols searching across the outer rim of the galaxy. They spoke of warriors who could sense a special mark, a sign of destiny. Some claimed the aliens took away anyone who carried it, never to be seen again. Others whispered that those marked ones were used as sacrifices in strange rituals. Arun never knew which story was true, but he knew one thing: if anyone discovered his mark, he would no longer be safe. Each day, Arun worked in the tunnels. He carried tools, broke rocks, and pushed carts filled with minerals. His hands were rough, his clothes always covered in dust. He looked like everyone else, and that was how he wanted it. Blending in was his shield. Yet he could not silence the questions that grew inside him. Why did he have the mark if it meant nothing? Why did it glow if it meant something? Why had it been given to him? Sometimes, when he rested alone, Arun would open his shirt and stare at it. The spiral seemed alive, as if carved by light rather than flesh. He wondered if the mark made him weak or strong. He wondered if it connected him to something far beyond the colony. He also feared it would bring danger to the only home he had ever known. Life went on in the colony, the same routine repeated each day. Miners woke early, worked in the tunnels, and returned to their huts at night. Children played in the dust, unaware of the heavy burdens that adults carried. Traders came once in a while, bringing supplies from distant stations. Yet even in this simple rhythm, there was tension. The older miners spoke in hushed voices about strange ships seen near the edges of the sky. They claimed patrols were drawing closer, scanning the colonies for something or someone. Arun listened carefully but said nothing. His heart pounded whenever the topic arose. Sometimes he thought of running away, but he had nowhere to go. The galaxy was wide, and he was only a miner. His only strength lay in his hands and his silence. One evening, after a long day in the tunnels, Arun sat outside his hut. The sun was low, and the sky had turned red with dust. Children were chasing each other, their laughter carrying through the colony. He pulled his shirt tighter across his chest, even though no one was looking at him. His mother had passed away years before, and there was no one left to remind him to hide. Yet her warning lived in his mind, stronger than ever. As the wind blew across the colony, he thought again of his dreams. He saw flashes of stars, voices echoing in his memory, and a feeling that something was drawing near. It was as if the mark on his chest was alive, waiting for a signal. Arun shook his head and forced himself to focus on the ground beneath his feet. He was a miner, nothing more. But that night, as he slept, the glow of the mark returned stronger than before. His small hut filled with soft light. In his dream, he stood on a wide plain beneath a sky of silver stars. A figure stood before him, tall and bright, reaching out a hand. The voice that spoke was gentle yet filled with power. "You are not lost," the voice said. "You are chosen." Arun woke with a gasp, clutching his chest. The mark was still warm, its spiral shining faintly through the fabric of his shirt. He sat in silence, listening to the night around him. Outside, the colony was quiet. The miners slept, the machines rested, and only the wind moved through the dusty air. For the first time in his life, Arun wondered if hiding was no longer possible. He felt both fear and hope stirring inside him. Something was coming, and his mark was the key. He could no longer deny it. The colony had always felt small, but now it seemed like a cage. Beyond the horizon lay stars he had never seen, worlds he had never touched. The mark pulsed faintly, as if urging him toward them. Arun lay back on his bed, wide awake, knowing his life would soon change. He just did not know how or when. The mining colony was used to silence. Days were filled with the clatter of tools, the rumble of carts, and the hiss of steam, but beyond that, there was little excitement. Few ships came their way. Traders visited once a season, and patrols from the nearest human station rarely bothered with such a forgotten corner. That was why the sound of engines in the sky caught everyone by surprise. Children were the first to notice. They pointed up, shouting, as a silver shape broke through the clouds. Miners dropped their tools and stepped out of the tunnels to watch. The ship was unlike the rough cargo haulers they knew. It was sleek, its surface marked with flowing lines that shimmered in the weak sunlight. Its engines glowed softly as it descended, sending dust swirling across the colony. Arun stood among the miners, his chest tightening. He had seen many ships in his life, but nothing like this one. Something about it made his mark tingle beneath his shirt, as if it recognized the vessel. He crossed his arms to hide the feeling, trying to appear calm. The ship landed on the flat ground near the colony gates. The engines shut down, and the silence that followed felt heavy. Everyone waited, unsure of what would happen next. Then, with a hiss, the ramp lowered. A figure stepped out. It was a woman, tall and graceful, her skin a pale silver that caught the light. Her eyes glowed faintly, not with fire but with calm power. She wore armor that gleamed like polished stone, and a cloak that moved gently in the wind. She carried no weapon in her hands, yet her presence alone made the miners uneasy. She walked with slow, steady steps toward the gathered crowd. The miners muttered among themselves, shifting nervously. Children clung to their parents. Arun felt the mark on his chest grow warm, pulsing in rhythm with her approach. When she reached the edge of the crowd, she spoke. Her voice was strong, but not unkind. "My name is Lyra," she said. "I come from the house of Valera. I seek one who bears the mark." The words sent a wave of whispers through the miners. Some looked frightened, others suspicious. A few glanced at each other as if searching for the guilty one. Arun lowered his head, afraid someone would notice the way his hand pressed against his chest. The elder of the colony, an old man with a bent back and a long gray beard, stepped forward. He leaned on his cane and frowned at the stranger. "You bring trouble with you," he said. "What is this mark you speak of? We are miners. We carry no such things." Lyra studied the faces before her, her glowing eyes calm but searching. "The mark is ancient," she replied. "It is not a thing you choose. It is given at birth, a sign of destiny. Without it, my people cannot heal the wound of war. With it, we may find peace." Her words stirred confusion. Most of the miners did not understand her meaning. They whispered again, fearful of what it might bring. The elder raised his hand for silence. "We do not wish to be part of your war," he said firmly. "Leave our colony in peace. We have nothing you want." Lyra's gaze swept over the crowd. She did not argue, but there was determination in her eyes. "I will not leave until I am certain," she said. "The one I seek is here. I feel it." Arun's heart pounded. He tried to keep still, but the warmth in his chest was growing stronger. He feared that if anyone looked closely, they would see the glow through his shirt. He stepped back, hoping to hide among the others, but Lyra's eyes moved toward him for a brief moment. He froze, though she said nothing. The elder frowned. "You will find nothing here," he repeated. "Stay if you wish, but you will not disturb our work. If you bring danger, we will turn against you." Lyra bowed her head slightly, as if showing respect, then stepped aside. She did not argue further, but her presence lingered like a shadow. The miners slowly returned to their huts and tunnels, though many kept glancing at her with unease. Arun slipped away quickly, his thoughts racing. Why had the ship come now? Why did she look at him? Why did the mark respond so strongly? He returned to his small hut and sat on his bed, clutching his chest. The spiral was warm under his palm, as if alive. He tried to calm himself, but the memory of her glowing eyes followed him. That night, the colony could not rest easily. Some men gathered in small groups, whispering about the stranger. They feared she was a scout for a larger force, or that she had brought danger from the stars. Mothers told their children to stay close, and the elder ordered guards to watch the gates. The air was heavy with suspicion. Meanwhile, Lyra sat outside near her ship, silent and still. She watched the stars as if waiting for a sign. The wind tugged at her cloak, but she did not move. To her, the mark's presence was clear. She had crossed light years following its call. She knew it was here, hidden among these people. Arun lay awake, turning from side to side. Sleep would not come. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, calm yet powerful, searching. He felt trapped between fear and curiosity. Part of him wanted to stay hidden forever, but another part longed to step forward, to ask what she knew about the mark. In the end, he remained in silence. He told himself he was just a miner, nothing more. Yet deep inside, he knew the stranger's arrival was no accident. The mark had stirred, and his life was no longer his own. The colony's quiet life had been broken. The stranger had come, and with her, change was close. The next morning began as every morning in the colony. The sun rose weakly through the dust-filled sky, and the miners prepared for another long day in the tunnels. Yet an uneasiness clung to them. The stranger's arrival had shaken their quiet life. Many avoided looking at the ship that rested beyond the colony walls, though it gleamed brightly against the dull landscape. Arun walked toward the tunnels with his tools slung over his shoulder. His thoughts were restless, circling around the same questions. Why had the mark burned so fiercely the night before? Why had the woman, Lyra, looked directly at him? He tried to push the thoughts aside, but the warmth in his chest never fully faded. As the miners gathered at the mouth of the tunnels, the elder raised his hand. "Before work begins, we will meet the stranger," he announced. "She wishes to speak to all of us together." The men and women exchanged uneasy glances, but none dared refuse. Slowly, they followed the elder to the open square at the heart of the colony. There, Lyra waited. She stood tall, her silver skin glowing faintly in the morning light. She had removed her cloak, and her armor shimmered like polished stone. She seemed calm, but her presence filled the square with tension. Arun stood near the back, hoping to remain unnoticed. He kept his arms crossed tightly over his chest, but already the mark beneath his shirt pulsed with heat. The elder stepped forward. "Speak," he said sharply. "Say what you must, then leave us in peace." Lyra's eyes swept over the crowd. Her voice was steady, carrying across the square with ease. "I am here to find the one chosen by the mark," she said. "Among you is one who carries it. That person is bound to me by destiny. With them, my people may end a war that has lasted for generations. Without them, the galaxy will fall deeper into darkness." Her words struck the crowd like a hammer. Murmurs spread quickly. Some scoffed, saying it was nonsense. Others looked fearful, unsure if her prophecy might be true. A few turned suspicious eyes on their neighbors, as if searching for signs. The elder shook his head. "You bring only trouble," he said. "There is no chosen one here. We are miners, nothing more. Take your ship and leave us." But Lyra did not move. Her gaze sharpened. "He is here," she said firmly. "I feel it. The mark calls to me." Arun's heart thumped harder. Sweat gathered on his brow. He tried to stay still, but the warmth in his chest grew stronger with every passing moment. It was as if the mark itself wanted to reveal him. Then Lyra raised her hand. "Step forward," she said. "The one who carries the mark cannot hide. The bond between us is alive. It pulls me to you." The crowd shifted uneasily. No one moved. Silence filled the square, heavy and sharp. The elder scowled, ready to dismiss her again, but Lyra suddenly turned. Her glowing eyes locked onto Arun. He froze. Every muscle in his body screamed to run, but his legs would not obey. Whispers rose from the crowd as people noticed her gaze fixed on him. Some stepped aside, leaving him exposed. "You," Lyra said, her voice ringing with certainty. "It is you." Arun shook his head quickly. "No," he said, his voice trembling. "You are mistaken. I am just a miner." But Lyra took a step closer, her expression unyielding. "Show us," she said. "Remove your shirt." Gasps rose from the crowd. Arun's face burned with shame and fear. He clutched his shirt tighter. "No," he whispered. "I cannot." The elder frowned. "What nonsense is this? Do not disturb us with your games." Lyra's voice grew firm. "If he shows the mark, you will understand. It is not a game. It is fate." Arun's hands shook. His heart pounded like a drum. Every eye in the colony was on him. He wanted to vanish, to sink into the ground, but the heat of the mark burned too strongly. It hurt now, as if demanding to be seen. Slowly, with trembling fingers, he unbuttoned his shirt. One by one, the buttons came loose. The crowd leaned forward, silent and waiting. When the fabric fell open, the spiral mark on his chest gleamed bright against his skin. It pulsed with light, alive for all to see. The crowd gasped. Mothers pulled children close. Miners stepped back in shock. Some whispered prayers, others muttered curses. Lyra dropped to her knees, her eyes wide with awe. Her voice softened, filled with reverence. "The mark," she whispered. "You are my mate." Arun stood frozen, his shirt hanging open, the glow from his chest lighting the dust-filled air. His mind spun in chaos. Mate, what did she mean? How could he be tied to her? He was only a miner, nothing more. The elder's face darkened. "This is madness," he said. "A glowing mark does not make him your mate. Leave us out of your war." But Lyra remained kneeling, her head bowed. "The bond cannot be denied," she said. "Our lives are joined. Without him, my people cannot survive. Without me, he cannot know his true self." The colony erupted in noise. Some shouted for her to leave. Others demanded answers from Arun. Fear spread like wildfire, turning neighbors against each other. The elder raised his cane, trying to restore order, but the crowd was too shaken. Arun's hands trembled as he pulled his shirt closed. His chest still burned, the spiral glowing beneath the fabric. He wanted to run, to hide, but he knew the truth could no longer be buried. Everyone had seen. His secret was no longer his own. Lyra slowly rose to her feet. She looked at Arun with eyes full of certainty, as if nothing else in the galaxy mattered. "You cannot run from this," she said. "You and I are bound. Together, we will change the stars." Arun's voice shook. "I never asked for this." Her expression softened, but her voice remained steady. "Destiny does not ask. It calls." The crowd continued to shout, fear and anger swirling through the square. The elder tried to push Lyra away, but she did not move. She stood tall again, her presence unshaken, her eyes locked on Arun. Arun felt the weight of every gaze upon him. The life he had tried to protect was slipping through his fingers. The mark had revealed itself, and nothing could ever return to the way it was. He was no longer just a miner. He was something else, something larger, though he did not yet understand what it meant. The moment of revelation had come, and the path before him was no longer his to choose. The square remained full of noise long after the mark was revealed. Miners shouted to one another, fear thick in their voices. Some wanted Lyra gone at once. Others demanded that Arun leave the colony before danger followed him. Mothers pulled children away, whispering about curses and omens. Arun stood frozen, his shirt clutched tightly across his chest, though the glow still leaked faintly through the fabric. His secret, kept hidden for so many years, was now exposed to every eye. He felt the weight of their stares like stones pressing down on him. Lyra stepped closer, calm and steady. "Do not fear him," she said to the miners. "The mark is not a curse. It is a gift. It binds him to me and to a destiny greater than any of us." The elder struck his cane on the ground. "Destiny means nothing here," he snapped. "We are miners. We live by our hands, not by stars and prophecy. Take your words and leave our people in peace." Lyra turned to him, her silver eyes shining with quiet strength. "You may not believe, but the truth cannot be denied. The mark on his chest is the sign my people have awaited for generations. His life is joined to mine. Together, we carry the power to end a war that has torn across the galaxy." Arun shook his head. His voice trembled as he spoke. "I am not a warrior. I am not chosen. I have spent my life in the mines. I do not belong to your prophecy. Lyra's gaze softened, though her certainty never wavered. She reached out her hand but did not touch him yet. The bond is not about what you believe, she said. It is about what you are. You feel it, do you not? The mark burns within you because it answers to me, as mine answers to you. Arun swallowed hard. He wanted to deny it, but deep inside, he knew she was right. The heat in his chest was more than fear. When she had spoken, the spiral had pulsed in rhythm with her voice, as if alive. When her eyes locked on his, the glow grew stronger, as if reaching toward her. The crowd's shouting grew louder. Some demanded that Arun leave at once before danger came upon them. Others whispered that perhaps Lyra spoke the truth, though fear kept them from saying it aloud. The elder raised his hand, silencing them at last. He glared at Lyra, his voice sharp. Take your chosen one and go. If he belongs to you, he cannot belong to us. You bring only danger to this place. The words struck Arun like a blow. This colony had been his home since birth. Though harsh and small, it was the only life he had known. To be cast out so quickly, after a single revelation, left him hollow. Yet he could not argue. He saw the fear in the eyes of his neighbors. They would never accept him now. Lyra looked at him with quiet certainty. You are not alone anymore, she said. Your life is tied to mine. Whatever path lies ahead, we will face it together. Arun stared at her hand, still stretched toward him. He hesitated, torn between the safety of the life he knew and the mystery she promised. Slowly, as if against his will, he lifted his own hand. When his fingers touched hers, the mark on his chest flared bright, lighting the square with golden fire. Gasps echoed around them. The light spread from Arun's chest to Lyra's palm, where a faint mark of her own appeared, glowing in the same spiral shape. For a moment, the two marks pulsed together, beating like a single heart. Arun staggered, overwhelmed by the rush of energy that surged through him. Visions flashed in his mind: distant stars, vast battlefields, cities made of crystal and light. He saw Lyra standing beside him, both of them facing a darkness that spread across the galaxy. The images vanished as quickly as they came, leaving him breathless. What was that? He gasped. Lyra's voice was steady. The bond, she said. Our spirits are joined. You have felt its power. Together, we are stronger than either of us alone. Arun shook his head, his hands trembling. I do not understand. I never asked for this. Why me? Why not someone else? Because destiny chose you, she said simply. You carry the mark. It cannot be ignored. It cannot be passed to another. You are mine, and I am yours. That is the truth written in the stars. The elder turned away in anger. Take him and leave. You have no place here. The crowd slowly began to disperse, muttering as they went. Some cast fearful glances at Arun, others avoided looking at him at all. The colony that had been his home now felt like a cage closing around him. When the square was nearly empty, Arun looked at Lyra. His voice was low, heavy with doubt. If what you say is true, then my life is no longer my own. She shook her head gently. Your life is still yours, Arun. But it is also part of something greater. You have a choice. You can stay here, where fear will always follow you, or you can come with me and discover the truth of what you are. He closed his eyes, trying to steady his breath. The mark still pulsed warmly beneath his shirt, answering to her presence. A part of him longed to reject it, to cling to the simple life he had always known. Yet another part whispered that he had been waiting for this moment his entire life. The dreams, the visions, the restless feeling inside him, they had all been leading here. Finally, he opened his eyes. "I do not know if I am ready," he admitted. Lyra gave a small smile. "No one is ever ready for destiny. But it comes all the same." For the rest of the day, Arun stayed near his hut, silent and lost in thought. The colony avoided him now, their whispers following him wherever he went. Only Lyra approached, calm and patient. She did not press him for answers. She simply stayed near, as if waiting for him to accept what already was. As night fell, Arun sat outside and looked at the stars above the dust. They seemed brighter than usual, though perhaps it was only his imagination. His chest glowed faintly beneath his shirt, a reminder that his life could no longer be ordinary. He felt the bond like a thread pulling him forward into the unknown. The bond of destiny had been revealed, and no matter his fear, he knew he could not turn away. The colony was uneasy in the days that followed. Lyra's presence lingered like a storm cloud above their heads. Some feared her, whispering that her arrival would draw enemies to their quiet home. Others feared Arun himself, keeping their distance as if the glowing mark on his chest might burn them. The once familiar paths of the colony now felt cold and hostile to him. Arun tried to carry on with his work in the mines, but things had changed. The other miners no longer spoke freely around him. They watched him with suspicion, muttering behind his back. Even children, who once laughed and chased him for stories, now avoided his hut. The colony had been his home all his life, but he felt like a stranger among his own people. Lyra stayed close, though she never forced him to speak. She trained alone near her ship, moving with the grace of a warrior. Her armor gleamed under the dusty sun as she practiced with a long staff that hummed with strange energy. Sometimes, Arun watched from a distance, struck by her strength and calmness. She seemed so sure of her path, while he felt lost between fear and duty. One evening, as the sun dipped low, the colony guards shouted from the gates. Arun rushed outside, joining the crowd that gathered to see what was coming. Dark shapes moved across the horizon, ships flying low, their engines leaving trails of smoke. Unlike Lyra's sleek vessel, these ships were sharp and rough, painted with symbols that made the miners whisper in fear. "Raiders," someone muttered. Arun's chest grew hot. The mark pulsed wildly, as if warning him. He glanced at Lyra. Her eyes were fixed on the ships, her expression hard. "They have come for you," she said. Panic spread quickly. The elder ordered the miners to hide in the tunnels, while the guards prepared their weak rifles. But everyone knew the colony's defenses were no match for raiders. The ships landed just beyond the colony walls, their engines shaking the ground. Dust rose in great clouds as armored figures poured out, their weapons gleaming. Arun felt his knees weaken, but Lyra stepped forward, calm and unafraid. She turned to him and spoke firmly. "Stay behind me. No matter what happens, do not let them take you." Before he could answer, the raiders charged. Shouts filled the air as gunfire cracked. The colony guards fired desperately, but their shots bounced off the raiders' heavy armor. The people screamed and ran toward the tunnels. Lyra moved like lightning. Her staff spun through the air, striking with blinding speed. Sparks flew as it clashed against the raiders' weapons. She fought with precision, each strike knocking her enemies back. For the first time, Arun saw what it meant for her to be a warrior of a noble house. She was a storm, unshaken by fear. But there were too many. The raiders pushed forward, searching the crowd. The marked one, their leader shouted. Find him. Arun's chest burned fiercely, the glow seeping through his shirt. He tried to cover it, but the light betrayed him. A pair of raiders spotted him and charged. Arun stumbled back, terror rising, but Lyra leapt between them. Her staff struck the ground, sending a wave of energy that knocked the raiders sprawling. Run, she ordered. Arun turned and fled through the colony streets. His heart pounded, his lungs burned, but still he ran. Behind him, the sounds of battle echoed, shouts, clashes, the crack of weapons. He could not bring himself to leave the people completely. He saw mothers struggling to guide their children to the tunnels. He rushed to help, lifting a small boy into his arms and leading a group toward safety. The tunnels shook as the fight raged above. Dust fell from the ceiling as the colony groaned under the attack. Arun guided the frightened villagers deeper inside, his fear replaced by a strange courage. For the first time, he felt more than a miner. He felt responsible for their lives. When he returned to the surface, he found Lyra still fighting, though her armor was scarred and her breath heavy. Dozens of raiders lay scattered around her, but more pressed forward. Arun grabbed a fallen guard's rifle, though he barely knew how to use it. He fired clumsily, forcing the raiders back for a moment. Lyra's eyes flicked toward him. Good, she called. Stand tall. The leader of the raiders stepped forward then, a massive figure in black armor, his face hidden behind a steel mask. He pointed at Arun. The boy is ours, he growled. Stand aside, warrior, and we may spare the rest. Lyra's voice was like stone. He is not yours to take. The leader raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Arun's mark blazed like a star. Light poured from his chest, striking the ground with a force that shook the colony. The raiders stumbled back, shielding their eyes. Even Lyra paused, awe flashing across her face. Arun gasped, clutching his chest. He had not meant for it to happen. The light had burst out on its own, as if his fear and determination had awakened something hidden. The raiders shouted in confusion, unsure if they faced a boy or a force beyond their reach. Enough, their leader barked, retreating toward his ship. This is not the time. We will return. One by one, the raiders pulled back, dragging their wounded with them. Their ships lifted into the sky, engines roaring as they vanished into the horizon. Silence slowly returned to the colony, broken only by the cries of the wounded and the frightened. Arun stood trembling, his shirt scorched by the light of his own mark. The villagers stared at him with wide eyes, whispering in fear and awe. Some looked grateful that he had helped them. Others looked at him as if he were something dangerous. Lyra approached, her armor dented but her eyes burning with pride. Do you see now, she said softly. The mark is not a burden. It is power. It has chosen you for a purpose greater than this colony. Arun shook his head, still stunned. I do not understand what happened. You will, she promised. This was only the beginning. The raiders will come again, and next time, they will not leave so easily. You cannot stay here. If you do, the colony will always be in danger. Arun looked around at the damaged homes, the fearful faces of people he had known all his life. His chest still glowed faintly, pulsing with a rhythm that matched Lyra's steady gaze. He realized she was right. His secret could no longer be hidden, and the people he loved would suffer if he stayed. He drew a deep breath, his voice unsteady but firm. Then I will go with you. Lyra gave a small nod. Together, We will face what comes. The chase has begun, and it will not end until destiny is fulfilled. The colony was quiet the morning Arun left. Smoke still rose from broken roofs, and the people moved slowly through the streets, repairing what they could after the raid. Though many were grateful that he had helped them, Arun felt the weight of their stares. Some eyes held thanks, but others held fear, as if he were no longer one of them. He stood at the gates with Lyra beside him. His small bag was slung over his shoulder, carrying only a few belongings. He had lived all his life in the colony, but he carried almost nothing from it. What mattered most were memories, and those could not be packed away. The elder approached, leaning heavily on his staff. His voice was tired but steady. "You go because you must," the old man said. "Your mark will bring enemies again, and we cannot protect you. But remember, Arun, you are still one of us. Walk your path with honor." Arun bowed his head, his throat tight. "I will." Lyra opened her ship's hatch. The vessel gleamed under the morning light, scarred from her battles yet strong. The hum of its engines vibrated through the ground, a sound foreign to the quiet colony. Arun gave one last look at the people, the homes, the mines, and the dusty hills. Then he stepped inside. The ship's interior amazed him. Smooth walls lined with glowing panels replaced the rough wood and stone he had always known. Strange symbols shifted across screens, and the air smelled sharp and clean. Seats curved around the control chamber, where Lyra moved with ease, touching panels that answered her fingers with light. "Sit," she said. Arun obeyed, his heart racing. He had never left the ground before, never even imagined flying beyond the hills. Now he was about to leave the very world behind. The engines roared, and the ship lifted. Arun clutched his seat as the colony shrank below, the people looking like tiny dots. The hills became shapes, the rivers thin lines, until everything blurred together. Then the clouds broke, and he saw the stars above like 1,000 burning eyes. His breath caught. Lyra glanced at him, her tone softer than before. "This is only the beginning. Beyond this sky are countless worlds. Today, you leave behind the dust of one small colony. Ahead lies a universe that has waited for you." Arun could not speak. The sight of the stars filled him with wonder and fear in equal measure. Hours passed as the ship rose higher, leaving the planet's pull. Arun watched through the viewing screen as his world grew smaller and smaller until it was a blue and brown sphere hanging in the dark. He realized how fragile it looked, how small compared to the endless space around it. "Does it always feel this way?" he asked. "Yes," Lyra said. "The first time, it feels as if you are nothing. But then you learn the truth. You are not nothing. You are part of it." She set a course, and the stars stretched into lines as the ship jumped into faster travel. Arun pressed back into his seat, stunned by the sudden rush. When the view steadied, they were surrounded by a tunnel of light, endless and shifting. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To my world," Lyra replied. "To the house of Saran, where your mark will be understood. There, you will learn why it was placed upon you." Arun nodded, though his thoughts swirled. He wondered what kind of place her world was, what people he would meet, and what role they expected of him. He wondered if he was ready for it at all. Days passed in the ship. Arun learned to move in the narrow chambers, to eat the preserved meals stored in shining containers, to rest in the small bed provided for him. Lyra spent much of her time in the control chamber, watching the displays and adjusting the course. Sometimes, she trained with her staff in the open space at the back of the ship. Arun watched her move, her strikes sharp, her balance perfect. "Will you teach me?" he asked one evening. She looked at him, measuring his request. "Do you wish to fight?" "I wish to be ready," he answered. She handed him a simple wooden rod, lighter than her staff. "Then you will begin as all do. With balance." The days grew into a rhythm. Lyra showed him how to stand, how to breathe, how to move without stumbling. Arun's arms ached, his legs shook, and many times he dropped the rod. But each time, he picked it back up. She corrected him with calm patience, and slowly, he began to learn. At night, when the stars glowed outside the window, Arun lay awake, thinking of the colony. He missed the sound of the river, the laughter of children, the rough warmth of the earth. Yet, he also felt something new inside him, a quiet strength. The mark on his chest pulsed gently, as if approving his choice. One day, as they drifted between star systems, alarms blared through the ship. Arun jumped to his feet. "What is it?" Lyra scanned the panels, her face tense. "Raiders. They have followed us." On the screen, 3 ships appeared, sharp and black against the stars. Their engines burned bright as they closed in. Arun's heart pounded. "What do we do?" "We run," Lyra said, her hands flying across the controls. The ship surged forward, but the raiders matched their speed. Weapons fire flashed past the hull, shaking the ship. Arun gripped the edge of his seat, fear rising. But then the mark on his chest burned again, stronger than before. He gasped, pressing his hand against it. The ship's panels flickered, lights flaring brighter. Lyra glanced at him in shock. "What did you do?" she demanded. "I do not know," Arun said, his voice shaking. The ship leapt forward, faster than before, the stars blurring into streams. The raiders fell behind, their ships shrinking until they vanished. Silence filled the cabin, broken only by the hum of the engines. Lyra stared at Arun, her voice low. "It seems your mark is not only bound to you. It answers to the ship as well. This is no ordinary gift. It is a key." Arun sat trembling, the glow fading slowly from his chest. He had not meant to save them, yet somehow, the mark had reached out, connecting him to the ship itself. For hours, Lyra said nothing more, only guided the ship onward. Arun sat in silence, thinking of what had just happened. He felt both frightened and amazed. If the mark could do such a thing, what else was it capable of? At last, Lyra spoke again. "When we reach my world, you will have answers. But know this, Arun. Power always carries weight. The raiders will not stop. Others will come. The chase is far from over." Arun nodded slowly. He understood. The universe was larger than he had ever imagined, filled with dangers and mysteries. But he also understood something else. He was no longer just a miner of stone. He was a part of something vast, and his journey had only begun. The ship soared through the endless light, carrying them toward a world Arun had never seen, yet one that now called him as strongly as the mark on his chest. The stars stretched endlessly outside the ship's windows. Arun sat in silence, his eyes tracing the patterns of distant suns and planets. For days, he had watched Lyra guide the ship through the vast expanse of space, teaching him to trust the ship, to trust himself, and to understand the strength of the mark on his chest. At last, a planet appeared on the viewing screen. It was unlike any world Arun had seen. Its surface shimmered with colors that seemed impossible: crystal forests, silver rivers, and mountains that glowed faintly in the distance. Floating cities drifted above the landscape, connected by light bridges and glowing paths. The air seemed alive even from the screen, filled with motion and energy. "This is my world," Lyra said softly, her eyes reflecting the brilliance of her home. "The House of Saran. Here, the mark will be understood. Here, your destiny begins." Arun swallowed hard. His heart pounded with anticipation and fear. He had left everything familiar behind: the colony, the mines, the people he had known all his life. Now, he faced a world unlike any he had imagined, filled with people and power that were completely unknown to him. The ship descended through the atmosphere, cutting through layers of glowing clouds. Arun could feel the difference in gravity, lighter and sharper than his home planet. The city below expanded with every moment, intricate and alive. Airships floated between towers of crystal and stone, carrying people whose forms were slender and graceful, yet strong. All around, there was movement and light. Lyra guided the ship to a landing platform near the center of the city. As the engines quieted, Arun stepped onto the smooth surface, his feet touching a world that was breathtakingly alive. The people around them paused to look, their eyes filled with curiosity and awe. Many wore armor similar to Lyra's, others flowing robes of light fabric. All moved with a confidence that came from knowing their place in this world. Arun felt small, almost invisible among them. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Do not be afraid," she said. "They will see the mark. They will understand." Before he could reply, a group of figures approached. Their leader, an elder with silver hair and glowing eyes, stepped forward. His robes shimmered, and his presence commanded attention. "Lyra," he said, his voice calm but strong, "you have returned, and you have brought the one chosen by the mark." Lyra bowed slightly. "Yes, Elder Kiran. This is Arun. He carries the spiral mark. He is bound to me." Arun felt a mix of pride and fear. All eyes turned toward him, and he realized they were studying the faint glow that pulsed beneath his shirt. It was no longer a secret. Here, it was proof of something greater. The elder studied him, then nodded slowly. "The mark shines brightly. It has waited long for him, and for you, Lyra. This is the sign that the bond is real. You, Arun, are part of what our people have awaited for generations. Your arrival changes everything." Arun's chest grew hot again, the spiral burning with recognition and connection. He looked at Lyra, who smiled at him with quiet encouragement. "I told you," she said. "The bond cannot be denied. It is a bridge between our lives and our worlds." He swallowed, trying to find words, but none came. His life as a miner, the struggles, the fear, the long days underground, all of it seemed distant now. He had been chosen for something bigger, something that connected two worlds and perhaps many more. The elder motioned for them to follow. Arun walked beside Lyra through the streets of the city. Every step he took filled him with awe. The streets were lined with crystal towers, glowing softly with colors that shifted as people passed. Bridges of light connected the buildings, and vehicles floated silently above the ground. The air was filled with the hum of energy, and for the first time in his life, Arun felt alive in a way he had never imagined. They reached a large hall at the center of the city. Its walls were made of translucent crystal, and light poured in from every angle. The ceiling seemed to stretch endlessly above, adorned with patterns that moved and shimmered. Here, Arun would be tested, and here, the truth of the mark would be revealed. Elder Kiran gestured for him to step forward. The bond is not only a sign, he said. It is a power. It connects the chosen to their mate and to the universe itself. The mark on your chest, Arun, will reveal what you are capable of. But you must accept it, and you must trust. Arun took a deep breath. He felt Lyra's hand on his back, steadying him. I am ready, he said, though his voice wavered slightly. I want to understand. The elder nodded and raised his hands. Light flowed from the walls, surrounding Arun and Lyra. Arun felt warmth spread through his body, and then, visions came to him, visions of stars aligning, of civilizations in danger, of power that could heal or destroy. He saw Lyra beside him in every vision, her presence strong and unwavering. And he saw himself not as a miner, but as someone who could change the fate of worlds. The spiral mark on his chest pulsed, stronger than ever. The glow connected with Lyra's own mark, forming a web of light between them. Arun gasped as he felt their bond solidify, a connection deeper than thought or word. He understood now that their meeting was not chance. It had been written into the stars long before either of them were born. Elder Kiran spoke again. The prophecy is fulfilled. You are together, and your bond is the key to peace. Humanity and the House of Saran are now linked. Together, you will face what comes, and together, you will lead. Arun looked at Lyra. Her eyes reflected the same awe and certainty he felt inside. For the first time, he understood fully. He was no longer just a boy from a small colony. He was chosen. He was part of a greater story, one that spanned galaxies. The hall filled with light as the bond strengthened. Arun felt a courage he had never known. The fear of leaving his home, of stepping into the unknown, melted away. All that remained was purpose and connection, a certainty that he was where he was meant to be. As the light dimmed, Arun and Lyra stood together, hands still joined. The elder's voice echoed through the hall. Rise, chosen ones. The galaxy awaits, and your journey has only begun. Arun lifted his head, gazing at the horizon of this new world. For the first time, he felt both ready and alive. The bond had been revealed, the mark recognized, and his place in the universe had been claimed. Together with Lyra, he would face whatever came, and together, they would change the fate of worlds. The future stretched before him, infinite and bright, and for the first time, Arun knew he was exactly where he belonged.